Hi Dad, this is a quick video to show you around Sony Vegas, but if you want to learn more about Sony Vegas, a great tip is to go onto YouTube and look for and subscribe to the channel Techtopia, spelt T-E-C-H-T-O-P-I-A. It's a college kid that's got loads of videos teaching how to use Sony Vegas. There's slightly more advanced tips, but you'll certainly learn your way around by using some of those and following through the tutorials. So let me start off by starting a new project. So if we click project up the top here and a new project, what you'll find it does is it wants to set up the new project, and you need to set the various settings. Well, the way that I do it is I click on the match media settings here, and what that will do is it will match the media settings to your source video, and so you just need to find here the source video. So if we click on browse, I'm now going to look for your videos which I've saved. So by selecting frost damage, what it's doing is matching the media settings for that original video. We can also now put in down here the name of the file that we're going to call it. So we'll call this one frost damage. We'll call the project frost damage. And you can also just make sure it's going to save it in the right place, which in this case it is, so I'm happy with that. So we now just click OK, and that's now set up a project to do a video called Frost Damage. The second thing we need to do, once we've then set it up the new file, we need to now pull into here all the media that we're going to use. So let's do that. We can either use this icon here, this is the import, this is the quick option, but if you can't remember that, go into project, import media, you'll see the picture's the same. So that's the icon that you'd normally use. So import media, and you then just find the bits of the files that you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this frost damage video, and just to show you an overlay and how to use it, I will also use one of these subscribe pictures, and you can select more than one video at once. If by holding the control key down and clicking, we've now got both these selected. If I open them, they'll both appear in here. You don't have to select them all at once. I could go back in and import more media. You can keep importing media, and you can even import media at a later date in time when you've suddenly realised you've forgotten something, you want to build in an extra picture. So in this case, I'm just going to use the two things, the source footage and a picture. Now then, before I show you what to do next, let me just give you a very, very quick tour of the software and some of the quick key buttons in here. In this section here, this is where you keep all your project media. The other things you may want to use is transitions. Allows you to create fancy transitions when you go from one thing to another, from one video to another. Usually I prefer the default ones as simple, just fade in from one to another, but you can have fancy ones if you want. You can also use the video effects, and that might be useful, for example, if the video footage you've taken is quite dark and you want to lighten it. In fact, I'll show you how to do that in a second. So they're the three main tabs. Usually I leave it on project media because that's all the stuff that you're going to pull into your video. Over here is where you watch the video, the results of the video and so on. On the far right is your master volume. So when you're creating your video, you can, if you've got different music tracks, for example, down here you can change the volume. Here you can change the volume of the overall output. And what you really want to do is you want to check that both the left and the right channels are roughly equal, and they're not going into the red too much. They're usually around about the 9 mark when the volume levels, and if it's too loud, just pull the slider down. If it's too quiet, pull it back up. And then here are your this is your timeline. So across the top here you've got, in terms of the number of seconds, it's the time, and then you can lay over there your video and your voice and these two tracks. Below these two you've got music if you want to add music to it, and sound effects as extra tracks. And on top of your video you can have either video overlay slides superimposed over the top, or you can have text. So we now need to pull the media in. So what we do is we simply just drag it. So frost damage, we just pull it down. Don't worry about the no entry sign until we get to the right place. So we'll put it, and it wants to go on the video track. That's that done. And you don't have to pull the picture in yet, but this is what you would do. You would pull it down and you'd add it to the video overlay somewhere, and let's stick it there, and we can move that whenever we want. So that's it. That's got everything in place. Just one more button I want to mention is this one's really useful, called Auto Ripple. It toggles between on and off, or you can use the Control L, and as a general rule of thumb, you want it pressed. You want Auto Ripple on, because when you then cutting tracks and so on and splitting tracks up, it keeps everything shunted together. But that might not be the case if you're working on video overlays. If you were to move this video overlay here and you had one here, it would also move that video overlay, and if you carefully spent time putting this second video overlay in exactly the right place, and then you move this one to get it in the right place, if it moves this one, it's moved that to the wrong place. So when you're moving video overlays about, you'll probably want the auto ripple off, which means you can just move individual elements without affecting the rest. But I'll leave it on to start with. Really, the key things that you want to do is you'll want to, with a video, you'll want to set the in and out points. You want to trim the video. So basically, either on the video or on the audio track, because on the video that these two are linked together, they'll work the same. You're looking to move your in point and to cut it, to trim the start. So it might be that we start here. We just simply drag this. And that trims it, and because we've got auto ripple on, it's shunted the whole thing back to the start again. Had we have not got auto ripple on and we want to trim it, it doesn't shunt it back, so it creates some space for us where we might want to insert something else. So that's the difference between auto ripple on and off. Don't worry if you've gone too far and trimmed something that you want to get back. If we just click on the undo button up here, we can undo that last change that we made, and we can click it again if we want and undo the second to last change. So don't worry about making mistakes and cutting things wrong. So you need to set the in and out points, so you can do exactly the same thing at the end of your video. You might find that you want to stop it at this point here, so we just simply drag it to wherever you want to end it. In addition to that, you might want to split the track and edit something in the middle. If you want to edit out this section here, then what we need to do is find the point where we want to edit it, and we want to cut it at that point. So we press the S key on the keyboard. There's also probably a button somewhere, but I always use the S key. S key splits the video into two, and if we turn this, if we've got auto ripple off, you can see we've got two separate videos here now. And we can now edit those separately. So if we want to get rid of this middle bit of the video, because we've now split them, we can now just simply drag this along like this. And had I got the auto ripple on, that would have snapped back and filled that space. If you want to then do a transition between two videos, all we simply do is we drag them to overlap. As a general rule of thumb, aim for a second, and provided this marker's not too much in the way, because things tend to snap to the marker. Let's move the marker out of the way by clicking here. As a general rule of thumb, it tends to snap once it hits to a second. It tends to stop at that point, so it's quite easy very often to find a second mark. If you're struggling, you want to be precise, then simply zoom in. So if we put our marker right in the middle and we move and spin the mouse button, you can see that we can move in, zoom in and zoom out. So if we zoom in like that, we've then got some really precise control over how much, where we get the fade in. And if we just move the marker to there and hit the play button, we can see up here, we can see the results of what we've just done and just check we're happy.
My mistake. So when you put my mistake. So